Ahead of their talk scheduled for the 10th of January next year, both Moscow and Washington have assumed a rather diplomatic tone after ratcheting up the rhetoric and rising tensions over Ukraine. An official from the Biden administration announced that the talks will take place next month, where both sides will present their own concerns. Confirming the meeting, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said that these talks will take place in Geneva, where US President Joe Biden and Russian leader Vladimir Putin earlier met for their first summit in June. However, what is not clear as of now is whether the two leaders will once again meet face-to-face, because when Joe Biden was asked about if he would soon see Putin, his response was, "We will see." Earlier, both Washington and Moscow made public statements of the repercussions if the security deal doesn't come through, or if Russia invades Ukraine. The West is alarmed over Russia's buildup of troops along the Ukraine border. Though Russia says as of now that it will not invade Ukraine, it has asserted that it is facing threats from its neighbor. Many perceive this as a Russian attempt to create a pretext for invasion. The Kremlin, on the other hand, has grown increasingly insistent that the West and NATO are now encroaching dangerously close to Russian borders. In fact, earlier this month, Moscow presented the West with sweeping security demands or guarantees, saying that NATO must not admit new members, and even sought to bar the United States from establishing new bases in former Soviet republics. Ahead of the engagement, that too. The US and its allies have refused to offer Russia the kind of guarantee that Putin wants on matters related to Ukraine. The West cited NATO's principle that membership is open to any qualifying country. Moscow and NATO representatives are now expected to meet on January 12th. Ahead of these talks, the Russian president has indicated that he is considering a slew of options if the West fails to meet his push for security guarantees. The US administration has threatened to impose economic sanctions if Russia attacks Ukraine. In a video call earlier this month, US President Joe Biden warned Putin that Russia will face, and I quote, "severe consequences if it attacks Ukraine." Now, for more on this story and the dynamics, we earlier spoke to Andrei Telizenko, who joined us from Kiev. He happens to be a former diplomat and was a senior policy advisor to the first deputy prime minister of Ukraine. We must mention here that he had been sanctioned by the US Department of Treasury for working as a part of the Russia-linked foreign influence network. We spoke to him about the fact that Russia asserts that all military deployments within its own territory and rules out any possibility of invasion. Listen in to what he said.
Yeah, there was a lot of information going on that there's a buildup of Russian military on the border of Ukraine from 90,000, some sources said, to 175,000. And this was within the time frame of November, December of this year. For the last 8 years, we had Russian military on the border of Ukraine, and nobody talked about it as much as they started talking right now. And the beginning of the year before Biden and Putin, and also it was the same story build up. So, and it all came from Bloomberg, Western media outlets, which basically then informed us in the situation. Our government, our Ukrainian government here, said that there was no Russian buildup before they went to Washington. And our Minister of Defense, after coming from Washington, said, "Oh yes, there is a Russian buildup. There's a possibility of an invasion of Ukraine by the Russian military," even though a week ago our intelligence did not have such information, even though they're working with the Western intelligence also. So it's all this controversy and it's a political buildup, not more than a military one. So basically, it's being used, Ukraine is being used by our allies and Russia to negotiate a deal between the United States and Russia.
We also asked him that given the tensions with Russia, Secretary Blinken has said that Ukraine is capable of handling Russian aggression on its own. Now, is that a realistic assessment or not? Listen in.
Look, we have to understand, in 2014, when Crimea, our territory, Ukraine territory, got annexed by Russia, the United States, which signed the Budapest Memorandum, also said that we can handle this on our own and we're going to be helped by some medical equipment, and that's it, which basically they did do nothing. The same thing here. The United States is not going to do anything to help us. Ukraine's army is stronger than it was 8 years ago, but you have to understand, we have no aviation compared to what Russia has. We have no naval fleet compared to what Russia has. We have no submarines, unfortunately. We have good soldiers. We have good upgraded equipment compared to what we had 8 years ago. But the military, which, as we see it today, how it fights, it uses rockets. It uses rockets from thousands of kilometers launched from seas. Ukraine doesn't have the capability to fight that. We don't even have a real or a good anti-aircraft or anti-aviation system or anti-missile system that can protect our country. That is the problem. We won't be able to stand on our own, and everybody understands that. And everybody's just trying to play this political game, and as again, use Ukraine, my country, in their own political benefit. So whatever Blinken is saying is a game for him, for the United States, and not more than that.
Now, we also asked his views on President Zelensky, who said that Nord Stream talks should be used as a leverage, and also expressed his willingness for any format of talks with Putin, with little progress on both fronts. But the big question is, how is this project vital to the politics in the region and beyond? Listen in to his inputs.
Today, we have to have talks on how to restore and basically save our gas pipe system, because before 10 years ago, Ukraine was a monopoly for a gas market to Europe. Our gas system, which was built 70 years ago, is transporting gas from Russia to Europe. And today, we're losing this monopoly. Today, we should have been having talks, not on Nord Stream 2, which is already finished, but on our gas pipeline, the Ukraine gas pipeline, which should be modernized, maybe with a cooperation with Europe, Russia together, and have Ukraine basically be still a player in the gas market. Nobody's talking about this. Only ultimatums, only things that are not going to be basically counted in for. The problem is Zelensky doesn't understand what he's doing. He's taking advices from people who are not capable of understanding the geopolitical situation. That's why Ukraine right now is looking weak.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.